Hey, this is Jpar, and this is the new review. Today on the show, we have Myles, we have Clayton, and we have Da Boo. This week, we're going to review Wonder Woman, and I am going to retcon some previous reviews that I have done. I'm not going to tell you which ones yet, but I'll get into that in just a second. So everybody, say hello to the crowd.
Hi, guys.
Hi, guys.
Hey there, DC Extended Universe.
Hey-o.
Hey, and Da Boo's in the house. Like,
He's jamming.
He's jamming, man. So we're gonna review Wonder Woman this week. Gonna take you to the land of Themyscira and the land of Amazons to bring you this latest review of the DC Universe. We wanted to do it earlier in the summer season, folks, but unfortunately we got a little bit tied up with GraphicCon and all that. So we're doing it now. Alright, so it is a movie that is a PG-13, and it is directed by Patty Jenkins, and stars the talents of Gal Gadot, or Gadot, depending how you want to say it, Chris Pine, Connie Nielsen, Robin Wright, Danny Houston, and others. And, so for those of you who don't know, it's about Wonder Woman who comes from a paradise-like land of all women, all Amazons, land of Themyscira. And Chris Pine, who is a World War I pilot, crash lands there, and Wonder Woman saves him, and she ventures out into our realm, Earth, basically, because Themyscira is hidden behind, I guess, a cloud of mist at all times. So, going to get into our first impressions, and I'm going to get into some quick facts and trivia, and then we'll start our review. First impressions, Clayton.
Like expectations of going into the theater?
You got it.
Actually, I heard a lot about this movie from the 2017 second wave feminist movement before I even heard anything good about the actual movie itself.
Off to a great start, folks.
But I also heard a lot of good things about the movie, about how Gal Gadot really carried it and made a serious and well-regarded Wonder Woman. So my curiosity was piqued before I saw the movie.
Myles.
Well, I'm in the same boat as Clayton. There was a lot of talk about women's rights, women power, I guess you could say, women empowerment.
There you go.
Prior to going into it, so that, as well as some early reviews were pouring in saying that the movie was good, maybe the best in the DC EU so far. So I had some pretty high expectations. Not to mention, this is a prequel sequel of sorts from Dawn of Justice. And Wonder Woman was one of the best things in that movie for me. Yeah. Just seeing her on screen, the music that was playing every time she was on screen. Exactly. So that kind of made me want to watch
I like that.
the movie.
I really like that theme.
Oh, it was amazing. So yeah, I had some high expectations going in.
Da Boo.
I didn't quite get as affected, I guess, by the feminist movement from what you guys were pointing out.
My
honestly,
Facebook feed is a mess.
Really? That bad?
Oh, yeah.
I will admit. Yeah, I will admit this though. I have heard some things before going into the movie, and again, I think like the two of you, it had piqued my interest because everyone's perspective on the movie was totally off from what I was trying to think of when I was going into this movie. Personally, I was really anxious to see Wonder Woman's, well, not so much origin story, but to a degree an origin story. She's not quite born, but I mean, you kind of see her grow up becoming the Amazonian, warrior that we expect her to be by the end of this movie. So, you know what? For a lot of things, I feel like this was a movie I had high expectations going in.
Yeah, for me too. Going into this, I wasn't. You know me. I'm not. If you've heard any of my reviews before, I'm not a huge fan of. Actually, I'm about to retcon that. Let me make a correction, folks. Before I carry on, I have to fix a little something because the DC universe is throwing my whole rating curve out of whack. Batman vs. Superman, when we saw it, I gave it a 3. I watched it again. It's a 2.5 at best. Suicide Squad, I overrated it, gave it a 4. I'm going to bring that down to a 3. I need to fix all this because you need to understand where I'm going with Wonder Woman before I give it a rating and before I get into that. So I'm just retconning it, and they're just not that great of movies. I think Suicide Squad, after seeing BVS, I thought Suicide Squad was a much better movie because it was much more fun. So I guess it surprised me a little bit, and maybe that's why I overvalued it. But watching it a second time, like, there's no story there, and BVS is just, I'm sorry, dull. So those are my retcons on those two, and I promise I won't retcon any more ratings, or try not to. Anyways, and I give you guys full permission to retcon a movie that you've reviewed before, because I had to do that.
No.
Do you
I know exactly what my criteria is, and
Okay.
I guard it very heavily.
I'm just going to say that I agree with your Suicide Squad bringing that down. I can't believe you gave that a 4.
I know, I
Wow.
did overvalue it, and it's because BVS, I came out of the theater and you guys really liked BVS, Batman vs. Superman. And you guys gave it such high ratings, and I just didn't know, like, I couldn't give it my honest rating, because after I heard you guys, I'm like, did they see something that I didn't see? And then after I watched it again, I'm like, no, I didn't. I saw what it was, and it was a boring mess.
Well, that's the greatest thing with movie reviews, is they are subjective.
Mm-hmm.
So we're all going to have different expectations
for sure.
going in. We're all different ideas or different takeaways from the same movie. But BVS, in my opinion, should have a higher score than Suicide Squad, because that third act in Suicide Squad,
At least Suicide Squad was
a
fun.
mess. It was fun for the first 30 minutes, and then you're wondering, where is this movie going? And then the third act is like, oh, it's going nowhere. That's where it's
Straight to
going.
the $3.99 bin at Walmart.
Yeah, bargain bin, baby. God. Anyways, that's my 2 cents.
All right. Anyone else want to weigh in on that before I get into the facts and trivia about Wonder Woman?
Oh, I hated both of those movies. That's my weight.
It's okay.
You know what? You guys have an interesting point of view. Personally, I haven't had a whole lot of negative from the DC universe so far, aside from, I think, how Suicide Squad was weak going in and just as much weaker going out, I guess, by the end of the film for me. That was the only one I was kind of letting loose to expect something different. I certainly got something different, but not quite that kind of movie that I wanted. But in the end, Wonder Woman, in my opinion...
Don't give a rating just yet.
No, I'm not rating it at all. I'm just saying it's one of those movies where, again, having certain expectations going in, and after having seen it, I don't know, they're way off from where you guys are, I feel. I'll just leave it at that.
All right, so let's get into the facts and trivia provided by IMDb. Gal Gadot was part of reshoots for the movie, including stunts. While being 5 months pregnant, her baby bump was visible, so the crew created a costume which had a green screen around her belly, which was later removed during post-production. Diana's scenes in London are an homage to Superman, the 1978 film, where Superman encounters urban life for the first time. The protagonist gets a disguise of a formal... bespectacled attire, apparently, stops a mugging attack, and has some trouble with a revolving door. And this is the first female-directed live-action film to have a $100 million budget. The film's estimated budget was $150 million. With an opening of $103 million, this film marked the highest U.S. opening for a female director. Previously, this record was held by 50 Shades of Grey, the 2015 film directed by Sam Taylor Johnson. So I thank you.
What the hell is going on?
I thank you for getting rid of that, like, breaking 50 Shades of Grey's record. That's great, because we don't need to see that. They don't need
saw that movie.
They don't need the whole
You know
Lady
what?
records.
I can tell you guys a review of that movie in like one sentence. 50 Shades of Grey, zero chemistry, very little spanking. Not happy about that movie. And I saw it in a really nice theater too. What? Seriously, like, I'm telling you, I saw it like...
He's all about women's rights, you know?
I'm really going to have to, like, edit you tonight. I really am.
It's not that bad, seriously. Like,
All right. I got a few more to go. Let me finish this. After its domestic opening weekend, this film immediately became the highest-grossing film about World War I, and the first to gross over $100 million. So, not just, for women as well. World War I, this is, breaks records that way. And the photo of Wonder Woman, Steve Trevor and the rest of their team in Belgium is the same picture in Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice. Chris Pine was not credited for the film's cast. The scenes of Themyscira were shot in southern Italy on the Amalfi Coast. Production designer Alain Bonetta said the location was perfect. Italy had beautiful weather, a beautiful blue-green sea, not too much tide, not too much wave, end quote. And World War I scenes were filmed at Upper Heyford Air Base in Bicester, England. Alright, so we're going to break it down into a rating, and the way we do it here, folks, we're not going to give any spoilers away just yet until we flip over into Spoiler Town. You're going to get a rating, why, and without spoilers. Clayton, take it away.
Okay. I'm going to give this movie dun 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 a 3.5. And the reason I'm going to give it a 3.5
Why was there scary music for 3.5?
well, because everybody's you
It
guys
could've been
all
a-
had these expectations of all these different numbers. I'm expecting like polar opposites for numbers here.
By the way, how much pressure is it to go first in the rating, by the way?
None at all.
Oh, okay.
I can't wait to be told you can talk now. It's my thing. Anyways, the reason I give it a 3.5 is because of the tone of the film. And it's because so many DC films, and I'm looking square at you, Batman vs. Superman, is that DC really paints like a super gritty picture of their superheroes. And
Yes.
they make them... They try to make you believe so much that they're real people that they forget what makes them entertaining is the fact that they're comic book heroes. So this movie remembers that it's based on a comic book. All the way through the movie, it's got a very comic book tone, and I really like that.
Okay, and Myles.
So, if I had to give it a rating out of 5, dun dun dun, I'm not going to be as generous. It's going to get a 3.
Uh-oh.
Still, that's tight.
That's all right.
That's 0.5 discrepancy.
So
It's a good movie through and through. It's got action. It's got a little bit of love. It's got some intrigue, a little bit of mystery, some homage to some old, very old movies like the Superman 2, I believe, is the movie that they were referring to.
I'm not 100%, but I do
The
remember.
mugging
I
scene?
do remember the scene, and then he catches the bullet.
Yeah,
For
that was kind of cool.
Anyways, we're not going to get into spoilers.
Anyways,
just
we won't
yet.
get into spoilers, but
Similar scene.
Similar scene. So there's some Easter eggs in the movie. It just sort of near the end of the movie kind of started falling apart again. It had DCEU-itis, where they just can't get that third act together.
Yeah,
It's just like,
yeah.
crap, we painted ourselves in a corner. What do we do? I don't know, something.
Throw money at it.
What do we do?
Reshoots,
Beam
throw
in the
money
sky.
at it.
Explosions.
Weird propaganda.
CGI.
Go see the movie. So yeah, that gets a 3 for me.
All right, Da Boo.
I think I'm on the same wavelength as Clayton, a little bit more. To me, it's a 3.5 out of 5. It could have been a 4, but the more I think of it, I can understand why I can't quite give it that 4 that I'm hoping for. But I will say this. Going into this movie and having left the movie at the end, one of my expectations that were easily met was a strong female character. And I'm glad to all end that they actually did a great job with that. That was very much the character I was hoping Gal Gadot could carry over into her own movie that I had seen quite clearly from Batman vs. Superman. So that was already dealt with. Another great thing I loved was the choreography. Choreography was one of those things where in an action movie of any kind, you always expect something different or refreshing and whatnot. I felt like there was a crispness to some of the choreography dealt with in this movie that I hadn't seen with some others. And that goes without saying with a lot of superhero movies we've seen. So, I mean, a lot of them have great, acrobatic characters that are not quite fully utilized in the way they could be.
Oh, yeah.
So, again, I say that same concept with the strong female character. It's exactly that kind of Wonder Woman that I wanted, and I got it. However, the only reason why I can't make that little leap to 4 out of my 3.5 out of 5 is that I felt like the villains were quite lacking.
Oof, yes.
It's the weakest thing of this movie. Even without going into spoilers, I feel like there's even more than one of them kind of portrayed in this particular film. One of which I wasn't totally familiar with, but I'm not too shocked that they didn't quite push, to the fullest, possibility. I felt like they kept their biggest villain hidden secret till the very end of the movie, which didn't really shock me, so it kind of ruined that for me. So again, it was the villain and I guess the way the ending had introduced me to the main villain that threw me off my game and didn't quite make this movie as phenomenal as it could be.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, as a story, it kind of is like a 3, but I kind of do want to give it the extra 0.5. And I feel it's because it does something different that its predecessors don't. And I thought it was important that I brought Suicide Squad and BVS down in ranking because this movie is better than both those movies. It has direction, it has heart, and it kind of brings a little bit of light that this really dark DC extended universe is. That's what Wonder Woman does. You can see a future with these movies. The other movies are just like, okay, well, that happened. You know, it's like, you're like, I guess we'll wait for the next one. But like for the first time when you're done this, you kind of feel a little bit of hope. You're like, okay, they can do something with this. And I really feel like she brings heart to what seems to be a heartless Batman who uses guns and, a dark version of Superman in this universe. So that I appreciate, and and they went with the female superhero this time, which is something that hasn't been done before. As a main protagonist, the female superhero in these superhero movies that are ever so popular now. So that once again, it does something that the other movies don't. And once again, I think you said it with the ending. That is definitely where it's gonna lack, but I'll get into more detail when we get into Spoiler Town. So I'm gonna give it 3.5. All right, so we're going to flip over into Spoiler Town, and now we're going to get to dig into this movie. We're going to tell you what we like and what we really don't like about this movie. What we really don't like about this movie, I'm beating on the table. It's going to be bad for editing later.
Do you have things you don't like about this movie?
Oh, well, I just try to get that...
Tell me how you really feel.
Well,
why don't you start?
Here on Dr.
You want me to
Jpar.
start? You want me to start? All right.
Bring it.
You know what? For once, I'm going to be an honor. All right, so this is where we're going to get into Spoiler Town, folks. So if you haven't seen the movie, definitely come back and join us after watching the movie, and maybe you'll see if our favorites and least favorites match up with yours. All right, so I'm going to give you what I like about this movie. I think I already touched upon it, and now we can break in the spoilers. Is that Wonder Woman, and I'm kind of stealing someone else's line here, but in this movie she's a god trying to be a human, and I find like in some odd way it's like the reversal for Superman and Batman in some odd way, because they're not grown, like even though Superman is godlike, he grew up as a human, he's still trying to fit into the human world, and even Batman's trying to fit into the human world. He doesn't understand the human nature as well as... Well, he understands it maybe better than others, but he's crippled because of his dark past. So, and then Wonder Woman just comes right in, and she just fits in with everybody. She's the heart. She's like the light. You know what I mean? And it's kind of like weird. Even when you go to Themyscira, you see, like, color. And you're just like, holy shit. Like, this is a beautiful place. You would never see this in the DC extended universe, the Metropolis or the gritty, Gotham City. Like, I mean, Metropolis almost looks like Gotham at this point for how dark they make this whole DC universe. But she really brings it out, and it's Gal Gadot, who, however you want to say her name, that's who does it. And it's her interactions with all the people she comes across. I find this movie is very similar to Captain America, but it goes a bit deeper because it actually goes into like, what is war? Like, why are we warring with each other? And it's interesting to see it through the eyes of an outsider, like Wonder Woman coming into our world, like from Themyscira, where it's just all women and there's no war, and then all of a sudden she sees what like men and what humans are capable of. So that I really liked about that, and I thought it had a much needed heart that the other DC movies are missing. And my least favorite is the ever typical ending. Like you said, Myles, we don't know what to do. How do we? Let's finish this movie. How do we do it? I don't know. And that's combined with what you're saying. Ares. Like, Ares is in this movie. He finally reveals himself. You're like, okay, this is gonna be cool. He gets the armor. You're like, all right, he's got his powers. Da 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 da. And then he starts talking. He's still like the old man. Oh, Wonder Woman. Oh, the humans. They're bad. Why don't you kill them? It's like, why are you still old? You're like a powerful god of war. You're like, oh yes, I'm gonna get you, my pretty. Why is he still an old dude? And then, like, even when you look under the mask, he's still old and crappy looking. He's that old skinny dude. He's like, wouldn't he just, like, okay, I get he was in disguise as this guy, but wouldn't he just come out in his real form as Ares and be, like, this kick-ass, like, you know, someone awesome for, like, Wonder Woman to fight, you know what I mean? And then it just ends up just being a CGI mess at the end. So that's definitely my least favorite. And like you said, weak villains. And he's just one of them. There's other ones in there, too, that were kind of weak as well. So, yeah, that's my favorite and least favorite, guys.
So who's up next?
That would
You.
be you, Clay.
Oh, okay, nice. I'm actually I'm gonna start with my worst, dovetailing straight off of what you just said. The actor who plays Ares at the end of the movie, David Thewlis, he's like an older version of Domhnall Gleeson. You guys know Domhnall Gleeson from Rogue One and Frank, and I don't know what else he's from. He's just limp. He's just lame. He's just one of those really dry British actors. He doesn't come across like a really strong, like an Alan Rickman or
exactly.
The people that I had cast for Ares would be like he plays.
I would even believe John Cleese a little bit more. You know what I mean? It's still the old guy in the helmet, but it would have been That's John Cleese. That's awesome.
Wonder Woman, I'm going to take you out.
With the department of silly walks.
Yeah, exactly. No, look at me walk across this, babe.
She'd be so mesmerized, and then, you know.
Anyways, Thewlis is the kind of actor you look at him and you say, I've seen that guy before, but he doesn't have a really good, strong front, like, center stage presence. Like,
yes.
He played Professor Remus in Harry Potter, King Einan, the asshole, in Dragonheart, and Edward, the main character in Island of Dr. Moreau. But he's not one of those main draws, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I could have picked anybody else. For my consideration, Peter Stormare, the guy who played Satan in Constantine.
Oh, yeah,
when he comes
cool.
walking out with his black tarred feet in the pool at the end of the movie, like he's just
that would have been a good pick.
Badass, you know what I mean? Mads Mikkelsen, who like Valhalla Rising.
Yeah, but they already used him in Doctor Strange, so maybe that conflicted.
Yeah,
with
okay,
that.
so yeah, you got me there. And David Fitchner, Armageddon and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles as Shredder's right hand man, the American businessman. There, he's a good bad guy. He doesn't have a whole lot of center stage draw, but he makes a pretty good bad guy. So that's the bad is that it really did have a weak.
JC's confused.
Yeah, I'm like, who?
David Fitchner.
Okay, wait. The business? Oh, the businessman in the new Ninja Turtles movie.
I can't remember. I can't even remember his name. I should have actually.
Okay, I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
But anyways, Thewlis is
okay. Anyways, it would have been better than that limp noodle.
And yeah, the point is that Thewlis is not a very strong. He's Ares, the god of war.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, he's the god of war. This guy should be the embodiment of charisma, persona. He should be strong, you know? And when he stops being the old man and becomes the god of war, he should just take up the entire screen. Not necessarily physically, but charismatically.
Yeah, you're right.
And it was just really weak, and it was
just a
letdown at the end of the movie because, especially since even the guy that they had playing the General Ludendorff all the way through was even stronger than Thewlis, and that was disappointing. Again, I say like my best part of the movie is the tone of the film. I like the fact that this movie is and acknowledges the fact that it is a comic book movie. It still suffers, like you said, Jay, from the muted colors that DC is like reputable for. If the idea was that Wonder Woman was coming out from the island,
so Danny Huston.
Yeah,
Danny Huston.
The idea was that
Ludendorff.
Wonder Woman, Diana, was coming out from the island and seeing the Earth. Eventually, you would think that the colors would have become more prevalent, like the world would have gotten brighter as she realized that the Earth
gray and shitty.
But it's always gray and really dark.
And she's in England, and it's like it's World War during World War One.
Yeah, and they went. The thing is that they went from the island straight to England, which is like they could have started in
disgusting
the dirtiest,
or it's ugly. What is she saying?
They could have started it there in the dirtiest gray, most noir part of England, and then the film could have brightened up from there.
I think it just goes to show, like, she really is like from a paradise island, in the real world,
but
if
the
even
thing is
looking
that
at the Batman
even
Superman
in the
movies,
burning
it's,
fires of the end of the movie, the
it's a
colors
gritty
never
as well.
come up. The colors never come up. The film always looks like you're looking at it through an older film filter.
Yeah, except for the parts in Themyscira where the blues are really blue.
No, that's what I mean. But as she realizes that the Earth is a good place, and she realizes that man is duality, light and dark, all that, like, it could have brightened up a bit because all the DC movies are so great.
Yeah, exactly. But that's what I appreciate about this one is that it has like a lot of beautiful colors. Like for the first time I saw like
Themyscira,
yeah, definitely. But I think that's the point. Like war has turned our world into this disgusting
but
mess.
shouldn't it be about how she views it? Like as the movie goes on, once she makes that realization at the end, shouldn't it get a little bit brighter? Shouldn't there be a little bit more color? She actually.
I mean, there's a
makes the
lot of
statement
metaphors
at the end.
in this movie, but
Exactly.
I don't know if that's one that needs to be made. I think.
You know what?
Because it doesn't get
one that
brighter
needs
at
to be
the
made.
end because you get to modern day and Batman's fighting Superman. It's a gritty DC universe.
Nobody needs to remember that Batman was fighting Superman. That movie was terrible. That's my review.
Well, I'm sorry, it's a part of
Out of
their
5, I
it's
give
a
it
part
a
of their
terrible.
DCEU continuity. So,
Still going her background in a circle.
Oh, man, and I'm-
anyways, is that
And-
your least favorite or?
that was my least favorite. Yeah, all of that you just bumps that into my least.
All right, so what's your favorite then?
I like the fact that the IP was treated with respect. That they didn't make a fluff movie just based, like, they weren't just trying to fill out the Justice League roster, aka Iron Fist. You know what I mean? Like, they actually did a good job with Wonder Woman, and they pushed her. They pushed her hard.
Iron Fist could have been good. They just didn't make it good.
Hey, could have been is not
What it was.
what it was, right? We all agreed to that. We were all a part of that.
We were all a part of that. I didn't.
That
make
happened.
Iron Fist.
We let that happen.
I didn't make that.
It's because you touch yourself at night.
No, but they respected the source material. Like I said, they made it a comic book movie and not a Wonder Woman simulator.
Simulator. Okay, so
You know what I mean?
all right, so that's what you like about it is that it wasn't a Wonder Woman simulator.
No, I like the fact that it had respect for its audience and that it was a comic book movie and that it knew it was a comic book movie. And I hated everything else. All the other stuff that I said.
What? Okay,
All
so
the
you
other
gave it a
stuff I said,
3.5, right? So you must have
Yeah.
liked.
Hey, what? You're the one who retconned all your stuff.
All right,
Come on.
whatever. All right, cool. Myles, go if you can contain yourself.
Oh God, you got me in stitches there, Clayton. That was good. I feel like there's gonna be a retcon for your review like 2 months from now. You know that Wonder Woman review?
Final.
fuck.
He's gonna change
Remember
his.
Wonder Woman?
He's gonna change his mind on Kingsglaive 2 more times before the season's
Hey,
done.
Oh,
I
God.
did not change my
It's a
mind.
4. No, it's a movie, guys. It's a 3.
No, it's a game intro. It's a 5.
But as a movie, it's a 2. What?
2.675 aggregate score. Hey, I've been to Metacritic.
As an intro to a game, if you just want to sit and watch 2 hours of a game before you play the game, then
You know
it's
what?
great.
I'm totally gonna go home and watch that movie tonight.
Shut up.
Our poor audience was
All right,
so
never get that time
confused.
back. Okay, so the good. Now you guys brought up some good points that I'm going to echo. I think there was some sort of metaphor going on with the colors because, like you said, it was beautiful at Themyscira, and then once they left the island of paradise, the gritty nature of the world came to be, and now they muted the colors, they sucked it out, and you saw the dirty side of war. And I liked, somebody brought up Captain America earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I liked the war aspect of this better than Captain America. I found that Captain America kind of montaged the war side of things and just threw it out the window like, we don't need that. We got Captain America. Then they montaged him winning the war.
I feel this one actually addressed war.
This
as a
one
subject.
was the gritty, trench-like war. There was one scene in particular that I thought they're going to run with the whole women's rights movement where they're in no man's land. No man has ever made it 1 inch past this spot for like 2 years or something.
They kind of did.
And then they look at Wonder Woman and are like, don't say it. Don't say
say
it. Don't you say it.
No
And
man.
she didn't say it.
No, she
She
didn't.
just climbed the ladder and she went out there and she
did it.
fucked shit up. And I love that.
It sounded like they took some of the Lord of the Rings music, but they didn't take their lines, so that's good.
Oh, that was perfect.
I am no man!
Return of the King, that was one of my least favorite parts. I am no man! And then kills the guy. I'm like, oh. Anyways.
Wait, the guy that plays Ares was in Lord of the Rings? I don't remember that.
Anyways, so that was cool. I think there was maybe some metaphor, some imagery that was going on in the background with the colors, so that was really nice. The play on the war, they did a really good job. I was very surprised. I didn't think they were going to do that. And the action was amazing. Every time she was kicking ass, lifting tanks and beating people with it.
That scene in the middle of the movie where they take back the town.
Oh yeah,
that's my fucking favorite scene.
That was
fucking awesome.
But then we get into the bad, and this is one of the things that superhero movies have a real hard time doing. And I feel like Spider-Man, the latest movie, did it the best with Michael Keaton. Is the bad guys.
Yeah.
You can't get behind these bad guys. And this movie had Dr. Poison and General Ludendorff, or I don't even care to remember their names.
Who we thought was supposed to be Ares. Spoiler alert.
Well, they start off the movie, they're both extremely serious. Their tone, the way he shot people to make examples, and then later on, like near the end of the movie, they turned into children. They were giggling as they like killed people. And then they run off screen. I'm like, what just happened? Right there, I knew I was not going to enjoy the rest of the movie, and I was right. So the whole
Nazis,
the whole red herring.
But they're not Nazis because it was World War One.
Well, they pulled that red herring twist where the two bad guys you're following the whole movie aren't the bad guys, so they kind of throw them away, and then surprise, surprise, the good guy was the bad guy. Okay. Which then leads me to my extremely least favorite part of this movie is that third act. It just kept on getting worse. It was just like I think Jpar, I think you said it was just like, let's throw CG at it. Because we got to end this movie somehow. Ares, as he was transforming and he made his mask, was the best part of that entire thing. That was cool.
But that's the last cool
now
thing
I'm pumped
he did.
up. I'm in it. I'm like, yes, Ares. But then he was the old guy, like you said. I'm like, hold on, why are you still the old guy?
Humans are bad, kill them!
And then he started borrowing Zeus's powers. He was throwing lightning bolts. I'm like, hold on, you don't do that. And then Wonder Woman's like, I can do that too. Grabbing lightning bolts, throwing them back. I'm like,
why does she sound like him now?
Because
everybody sounds like an old man.
Because the third act didn't give a shit. And that's the worst part, is that's what you remember, right? The first half of the movie, you'll remember the key points, but what you really take home is the end, and the end was caca. To borrow the lines from some French person,
some random French person. You know, actually, and I can add on to that.
Please do.
The ending, like you said, it's almost like they didn't care, or whatever. But if you follow any Greek mythology, which I do. Ares and
what's the latest news on Greek mythology?
The point is, this is a minor point, but maybe it's a major point because superhero movies like Thor seem to borrow a lot from like Greek and Norse mythology. The Greek gods cannot actually die unless they are neglected.
Right.
Ares and Wonder Woman battling, they can.
Well, after that awful performance,
they can battle for 1,000 years. Maybe he wants to die. Like who knows? But the point is that unless Ares' power is completely ignored. Like unless all humans gave up on war, Ares will always endure.
I'm not going to gripe on that because that is a big part of the comic book lore with the gods. Is if people believe in them or there's some sort of conflict.
They need to be relevant.
Yeah, they need to be that relevant. Makes them relevant. It makes them powerful. And the war, they were making it sound like he was starting the war. When
actually he was feeding.
He was feeding. Yeah, he should have been feeding off the war, but he was kind of feeding the war. I don't even care about that.
Everyone should have just held hands, sung "Kumbaya," and then fought Ares that way. Ghostbusters 2 style.
It ended. Well, no, it ended up being another Skybeam villain because that's all it was just a CG nightmare at the end of the movie, and that's what you remember is the ending of the movie, and I didn't like it. And then they fast forward back to the present. I'm like, okay, we're going to have Bruce Wayne show up and talk to Wonder Woman because he's the one that wants to know, what is this? How are you here?
Yeah.
They never addressed that either. Is she immortal?
Well, she's like, Well, he says Ares like, I'm gonna shoot Zeus lightning. Shoots her with lightning, and then she's like, I'm gonna shoot even more powerful lightning, and shoots it back at him. And then
she reflects it, like she catches it.
Yeah, she can reflect it. Yeah. Anyways, there was all kinds of ambiguous crap that went on at the end, and honestly, the last half hour of the movie, I could give two shits. If they would have cut it with "I am Ares," cut the movie. Yeah, you got your 4 DC. There you go.
Wonder Woman 2 shits edition.
But they didn't do that. And what's worse is there was an animated movie that came out called, get this, Wonder Woman. Came out in, I believe, 2009, and it was actually really good. It was really good. Had Nathan Fillion voicing, was it Trevor? Who is the pilot?
He's in everything.
Well, he's good in this.
Chris Pine is Trevor. You know what? I kept wanting to say he was Matt Damon all the way through. Every time I see Chris Pine, it's like, oh, it's Matt. No, it's Chris Pine.
It's Chris Pine. Alan Tudyk was in this movie too, actually, and I don't know why I brought that up, but
anyways, if you watch the animated movie, you'll agree with me that it was done way better than this movie was, because it didn't have that third act itis that all these DC movies seem to have, where they don't know what to do at the end of their movies, and that's what you remember, unfortunately. Take it away, Boo.
I think that it speaks for itself when each of us comment on the ending being one of our least favorite parts of this movie, right? So, well, you guys didn't leave much left for me to mention, but I will admit, no, you guys hit some really valid points.
There's
one
lots.
of which I do. Yeah, don't remind me. I know you come prepared.
Show's only so long.
Clayton did bring up something that actually I wanted to quickly address, which was that whole touching on the lore aspect of the belief of how a god gains their powers. That was one thing I had to appreciate with when I got introduced to the DC universe. I think for the first time there was that aspect of the godlike characters as well as the street level characters more so than ever, whereas Marvel not quite as much. But anyway, with that said, I feel like with this particular movie, they did a great job at establishing a character like Wonder Woman who does not know she's part god and only finds that out by the end of the movie, which then unlocks her full ability, I guess is what it is, right? Like she's now capable of kicking real ass.
Wonder Woman has now discovered the power of love.
Yeah, not quite.
Wonder Woman 2.0.
That's what I like. That part from Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. I thought that should have been said there, but like that just would have been hilarious.
Yeah. But of course, and then again, you guys mentioned like the use of the First World War. Like the setting was perfectly done, and it established Wonder Woman as this very iconically powerful character without even trying. I'll be quite honest. I mean, you give us a war and you give us someone who's capable of standing in the middle of that war and not be affected, and better yet, fight for the side of good because she understands that, man deserves to live and doesn't have to live in those kind of conditions. So it made sense to me why they did this. What I don't understand is no different than why you guys all said the same, and my biggest issue of all is how they had to end this movie. It's like they have such a difficult time coming to realize a proper epic ending, which, yeah, you know what? I honestly didn't have as much to gripe about Ares as much as you guys did. Yeah, the introduction of the helmet, which was, 2 fingers in a piece of metal that was over his head, and then, oh, lo and behold, surprise, he's got his helmet. Perfect, that was fantastic, and like you said, it kind of got me in the moment. But by the time that scene had occurred, and they threw you off for a loop and all that, they introduced you what you thought was Ares and was not Ares, and even better yet, someone had already brought to my attention Dr. Poison and how she was relevant in the comics before even going into this movie. So of course there was a lot of things that I understood and didn't totally understand, but what I did fully understand was Ares was just not presented well. It's amazing how you got such a powerful character able to go toe-to-toe with another powerful character,
war.
Wonder Woman. We've already seen the established relationship between how Wonder Woman comes to realize she's part god herself, so she is the key, not her sword or whatever the case may be, right? Perfect. Okay, you sold it on me. Now finish the fucking movie. Thank you. You gave me the worst fucking way possible, which was no different than how you guys had said it. Let's throw some CG at it. Let's just, put a bit of, visual magic together, and
so
it'll come together somehow. We'll figure it out in the end.
What did you guys think of Chris Pine's sacrifice at the end? Spoiler.
You know what? That didn't really make any difference for me.
It was kind of cliche.
Yeah.
I was like, there's no way.
But is it better that he did it or better that he didn't do it?
I was fine with it because
I'm
wasn't...
actually glad he did it because I find that it would be too like soft if he didn't like kind of.
It was okay, yeah. He had to make the sacrifice so
It was
that she
expected,
could make
but it was needed.
She could make the hero's realization, the manifest.
And that way, she understood what it was like to lose a loved one to war.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So
what they had. They had a great emotional touch on this whole freaking story. Like it made sense where the story was going. It was just amazing how they had to end it on a magical note of CG. Like thanks for leaving on that note. Like that's
it's
like
it's after they come to that. It's like, oh, we still got to finish this fight, and it's like
I don't know exactly how they would have to fix it. Whether if it was to give us that shock ending, like surprise, it's not really Ares over here, he's over here, and end on that. Okay, fine, I can see the impact in that, but I think I would have been even more devastated because I was expecting that clash about mid-movie. I was already seeing the kind of Wonder Woman I wanted to see by halfway into the film, and I'm thinking, holy fuck, you're still running with this? I get it, she's in the war, I get it, move on, But again, I understood why they had to take those necessary steps. So, of course, by the time you get to when you see Ares, the biggest foe of all, I was just shocked to see how lame it was. I don't know how lame. I don't know how you can make Ares lame, but you did. So, of course.
You make him an old, frail man, and you make the last fight not a hand-to-hand combat fight. You make it all CG and effects.
Yeah, you say that. I know you guys all had mentioned it, too, like the old fart. Believe it or not, that did bother me. That really did bother me because I was already sold on the idea.
Wonder Woman.
I was already seeing a completely different character, this supposed ally, and he's weak.
Sir Patrick.
So of course your attention is elsewhere. You think, oh, he's not a strong character, so of course he can't be Ares. Well, yeah, they threw you off your base for good reason. By the time they give you the shock ending and they say, oh yeah, I'm Ares over here, and he's still the old man supposedly. You know what? That really didn't bother me that he was a weakling up until he actually put on the armor, because then at that point the CG just took over and I had to rely heavily on it to say that's the Ares
that's
I was wanting.
Ares.
The voice did throw me off, but again, that's just the way you sell the character. They could have thrown in some voiceover with the same actor's voice and lines, but modify his voice that sounds so booming and maybe ferocious. I don't know, something that wasn't the old fucking original voice.
I think the problem with this, and the problem with I find a lot of superhero movies is that the reason why I find Winter Soldier is so good. Is because there's a lot of hand-to-hand combat, and even in Civil War, I find the Russo brothers use a lot more hand-to-hand kind of stuff. And then when it gets bad, it's usually when you use too much CGI effects. And I mean, you look at the middle scene of this Wonder Woman movie. That part's amazing, where she kicks everyone's ass in that town when they take that over, and she jumps up and takes out the sniper there. That part's amazing, and a lot of it is hand-to-hand combat. It's more practical kind of effects as opposed to the ending. It's hey, now let's break it down into a CGI mishmash.
Did you not realize that on the beach at the beach scene at the beginning when they were fighting, she was fighting. Okay, you're talking about choreography. You're talking about fighting. Mm-hmm. That you almost never see anybody hit anybody on the beach scene. Did you notice that? No. They do all quick cuts. As soon as the fist is about to land, the camera cuts to another shot. They minimalized it at the beginning.
Didn't notice that. But that comes back to my point why I'd rather see an actor who could play Ares, who could do a hand-to-hand combat scene with Gal Gadot as opposed to fucking just some old dude shooting CGI effects at her.
I do want to bring one other topic. I'm surprised I didn't mention earlier though. I had more chills seeing the strong female cast that we saw at the beginning in the universe.
Yeah, you did.
Well, for what reason? I mean, that's beautiful.
Beautiful Amazonian woman in a paradise island.
When you add them up,
chills. That's what we'll call.
When you have Gal Gadot playing Diana, you had Robin Wright playing Antiope. Whatchamacallit? One of my favorites was Connie Nielsen playing as
Hippolyta.
Yeah. Okay. Either way, these are all female actresses, which I appreciated in previous works of their own before going into this movie. And when I heard of the cast and heard their names mentioned, I was pumped. I was actually excited.
We just recently reviewed Unbreakable and Forrest Gump, and Robin Wright is in both those.
Yeah, movies. Exactly. And then I think that goes back to my previous comment with probably both those films was that she's already a very believable character in almost all films she's done. Robin, I mean, the way she's every character was done differently.
Connie Nielsen
and I
being
absolutely
from
love it.
Gladiator, another movie we just recently reviewed
Played a
for
very,
Late Night Ticket.
very powerful woman in that movie too, right? So she sold me on the idea that she could be a leader, of a civilization. In this case, the queen, right? So of course, these were all moments that I think were kind of undersold in the movie. We got introduced to the Amazons.
Wonder Woman 2, Battle of the Amazons.
You right away sold on the idea that that's where, that was the origin story supposedly of Wonder Woman, and then the rest of the film just went
I wonder if the
totally
second...
downhill.
This movie is all about like the strong female characters in the movie, but let's talk about the strong guys. I mean, Chris Pine. Let's talk about the fact that Ewan Bremner is Charlie in this movie. That's Spud from Trainspotting.
Yeah,
That's fucking
Charlie?
what's his name?
His little crew was so disposable.
Yeah, whatever, man. I
and
loved
especially that guy,
I
the
love-
sniper that never shot.
I loved Spud in Trainspotting.
Are
I
you
loved
poking fun at the fact that there's no strong male
There's no
characters in
strong
this?
man. Yeah, because Chris Pine is a spineless whatever. Anyway,
Hey, he
the point is that
sacrifices himself for the greater good. How
Yeah.
is he spineless?
Take that back.
Anyways,
He's the inspiration
Ewan
for
Bremner.
Wonder Woman.
I'm
Like,
trying to get back to Ewan Bremner here. I like that guy.
okay,
He was
okay.
Spud in Trainspotting, and he was in Alien vs. Predator.
and he was crap in
And
this
he's
movie.
not Chris Pine. And he's a sniper who never fires a shot in
Yeah.
this movie.
Yeah, he's crap.
Cut.
And I still like
He's
him.
like all
Edit him out
down.
of the
He's
movie.
down on
The
himself.
the point-
He's like, oh well,
The-
I guess I won't be any help to you. And then Gal Gadot, like Wonder Woman, has to be like, well, who's gonna sing for us? And then he's like, who
I'm
he
gonna
gets
play
on
the
again?
piano now.
The
It's like, all of a
lesser
sudden
point
he's
that I was
like,
trying to
know.
make is that this movie is riddled with like people that you see
Once
all
again,
the time, but that
Diana
don't
has to bring
actually
light to
have-
everyone's darkness. Anyways, what?
She gives him some kind of a motivational speech. She's
What was
like,
the
"But who
actor's
will
name
sing?"
again?
Ewan Bremner.
Yeah,
But
whatever.
who
We'll
will
call him
sing
Spud.
for me?
I'll forget him next
Yeah,
time.
what? You can't forget Spud.
No, I just did.
Oh my
Oh,
god.
you're lucky.
Whatever. This
All
this
right.
movie was at 2.5.
What? It's starting to seem like Final Fantasy. It's getting
Right
less
on.
and less every
As
time.
a superhero movie, it's a 3.5, but as a movie.
This just went from a superhero movie to just a hero movie.
As an introduction to playing a game that's totally relevant to this game, if you're going to watch that before playing.
God, we're so off rail.
It's good times though.
Anyways, let's sum it up with go see the movie.
So final thoughts, people? Or do you have any other comments, even?
Actually, I do.
Of course you do.
I do. Well, I always do. I make notes. Despite the fact that, yeah, I know. Fly, you fools. Despite the fact that the origin story for the Amazons on the island is actually very short. This is an origin story movie coupled
and
with...
that's why this is actually good, I gotta say, because this is an origin story movie as opposed to...
It is, yeah. But the origin is relegated to a very small part at the beginning of the movie, but the runtime of the movie itself is actually very long for what is basically a pretty simplistic plot.
It is.
And I got to the point where she killed Ludendorff, and I was like, "Yeah, the movie's over." She series. And then there
So you
was
couldn't
another.
wait for the movie to be done?
And then there was another hour after that. I was like,
There wasn't another hour. Another
Yes,
half
it
hour.
was.
It felt like
Another
totally,
half
man.
hour.
Totally, man.
No,
it
wasn't that much
Oh,
more.
yes, it was,
Definitely
man.
not
That
an
was
hour.
like an hour and 22.
A half hour after.
2.5 hours in, she finally.
That's
pushed
because
up.
that's the part where you got to the bad part of the movie.
And then time
Oh,
slowed down.
yeah.
You're right. As soon as I almost wish there was no red herring, so to
Yeah,
speak,
same here.
of the other dude. It was just like, okay, I killed him. It's done. It's like, oh, now fly away and die, Chris Pine, and we can wrap up this movie.
But then the
He's
war
like,
doesn't
I'm
end.
Captain America. No, you're not. Boom. No, when you're not coming back. No iceberg for you.
The thing is that the pacing of the movie is kind of weird because they do the origin and then they make Diana fixate on the sword at the beginning of the movie. Like she wants the sword. The sword is the means
The
to
God
get her
Killer.
destiny.
Is that what they called it?
Yeah, they call it the God Killer. And then
The secret weapon
she
given to
gets
the
sword.
Amazons.
She gets the sword.
Yeah.
And then they're like, okay, she's got the God Killer. This is it. Like, blah, 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 blah. And then, an hour and a half later, she plunges the sword into Ares' hand, and he says, that's not the God Killer. You are.
Yeah, and then he
But
tells
it's
her.
weird. It's a
And
really
it was like,
weird...
oh,
it's a weird
it's
separation.
You. It's like, why would
Yeah.
you tell her
It's
that?
you.
Like,
No,
why would
it's
you
like
tell
a
her?
really weird separation between this manifest destiny, which this is the only DC movie that actually has that. It's the only superhero movie pretty much that has that manifest destiny because she's a god. She has a destiny. You know what I mean? Like
Thor
Demigod.
doesn't have a destiny.
no,
He's destined
him,
to be.
we won't get
him
into
and
this.
Loki are brothers, but whatever. Anyways,
All right.
the point is that she's not
Step
like
up.
Wrap it up.
I'm thinking about DC and Batman and Superman, right? Like she has a manifest destiny. They speak, they
Okay, I
sing
get
songs
ya.
about
Yeah.
the God Killer.
Sure.
Anyways, the point is that she gets the sword.
Did you
early
want
in
to
the
sing one
movie.
of those songs for us?
No, he is not a bard. Please continue, Clayton.
Bard plus 1 intelligence.
Anyways, the God Killer
he
will
sticks
come.
he sticks his hand out. His hand eats the sword, and this is like an hour separated between the point when she gets the sword and when he takes it. But my point is that it's a real separation. There's no like there's a personal legend that goes along with that kind of thing. Like she believes that she's the God Killer. She gets the sword and she has it the whole time, and then it doesn't end up actually being the God Killer.
Right.
It's another one of those misdirections that I feel like was underutilized.
It's a misdirection, but it's underused.
Because she's the God Killer.
That's my point.
Well, that's
He's
why
like, no, you're actually the God Killer. No, you're the God Killer.
Well, that's how it happened,
it's
right?
just-
It's like they ran out of time instead of a great reveal. He's like, she's still got to learn she's got to kill her. Well, Ares just
she's
going to
like,
tell her.
when she
All
comes
right,
up and
why
she's
would he
like,
do that?
I am Diana, Queen of the Amazons. Like, okay, so when did you get
Princess
Queen?
of the
No,
Themyscira.
she says Queen.
Oh,
she
well.
actually says Queen, and I was
She's
like,
not Queen of the Amazon.
when did you get coined that?
She
Where's
does.
your crown?
Does she say
She
that?
never said that.
Oh, yes, she
so.
did.
She doesn't.
Yes, she did.
I'm going to bet you $100 right
I don't
now, and I
think
don't
I'll
so.
bet
think
you
she
$100
said it
bucks.
I'm pretty sure she said Princess
Anyways,
of
let's not-
Themyscira.
I bet you.
Final thoughts, Clayton.
Final thoughts, Clayton. Let's wrap this up.
It was the best DC movie that I've seen.
That's for sure.
But it's like right up there with like Vanilla Sky and I don't know, Miles Snow Dogs.
Ugh.
Hey, Vanilla Sky's not that bad of a movie. It's pretty good.
Yeah, that's not too bad.
Actually, yeah, you're right.
I like Vanilla Sky.
It's not bad.
Cameron Crowe, that was a
it's
good
not
pick.
bad. It's not bad.
Okay, so my final thoughts. I agree wholeheartedly with the whole red herring thing. If they would have just cut that out and the war's still going on,
And then-
what?
yeah.
and then revealed
And then you have
Ares, and then it just kind of
And
ended.
then that line
We
where
could've
Chris
got
Pine
a-
says like they just do
we
it
could have
because
got
they
a Wonder
wanted.
Woman 2 sequel where now
Powerful
she
stuff. Has a
has to
true
find.
villain.
Yeah, now she has a true villain.
Yeah.
That would have been cool, but they took that away. And this is a prequel sequel of sorts because she gets the email from Bruce Wayne in Batman vs.
She gets the
Superman.
picture of
Why are you in this picture from 19 whatever?
yeah.
How can you be this young and this old at the same time? Explain that to me. And they start the movie off like that. Here's the original picture. Tell me the story. That would have been so much better if it was actually Ben Affleck there, personally hand-gifting it to her, and she tells him the story, and then he leaves. Well, I'm going to have to take you on your word, Diana, that that's the truth, and then leaves. That would have been cool, but instead, it's just like a postcard or some
Yeah.
shit.
I really thought she was going to be talking to Ben Affleck
Lame.
at the end.
Yeah, that would have been cool, and they took that away.
But
And
at the same
it
time,
didn't answer the
it makes-
question
yeah.
at all. The entire movie did not answer the question how she got from A to B. Is she immortal? Now we're gonna have to.
Well, she is.
Kind of. But demigod.
I think the next
they
one's going to be
don't
in World
really-
War II or something. I bet.
You know what? I hope they don't
No, I hope
do
not.
that.
Bring it into the modern day.
It has to be
Just-
modern day now because they revealed Ares and they quote unquote killed him off. Spoiler.
He's not dead.
I don't even know. Like the whole movie was so ambiguous at the end.
Well,
that
that's
they
what
could
I
literally
mean too. That's what I was talking about too. Like, you
They'll
can't
come back
kill
in a new
Ares
body.
that way. Like, it's not like, hey, lightning dead.
Well, they tell you the God Killer will kill Ares, and then the God Killer turned out to be her, so she killed Ares, but she didn't kill Ares. Now we're in the present. Who gives a shit? Wonder Woman 2.
Well, we need to end this movie.
Yep.
Done.
Yeah, credits, and then no end credit scene to explain anything.
Well,
or
they don't
whatever.
have end credit scenes in DC movies.
They
They might
do,
as well
they
have
have
just
it in
had
Green
her
Lantern.
like show up and be
Go.
like,
What Green
Ares,
Lantern?
let's
Yeah.
do
That's
this.
not a part of the new
Credits.
continuity.
They also had in Suicide Squad. Go.
Oh, okay. Well, you got me there.
Oh, you guys hit such great topics.
Final thoughts.
I'm just going to simply say this. Great for the female audience if you guys really want a character of your own that you can really root for wholeheartedly. I mean, even the guys can enjoy it. It's just, I feel like, just don't have high expectations with the ending, please. You will hurt yourself in the end if you do.
Oh my god. Women, don't watch this movie. You're gonna hurt yourself.
That was good. That was a roller coaster final thought.
All right.
It's a good movie, but you'll hurt yourself if you finish the whole movie.
All right,
Oh,
so
my
if you
God.
like reviews like this, you could check out more on Eastlink if you have Eastlink in the Sudbury area, and if you're outside the Sudbury area and you have Eastlink, you can get it on demand. We're on Late Night Ticket. You can check that ticket every week on Channel 10 at 10 on Mondays, and we have a great little show there for you that's similar to this. You can put face to a voice, and you can always follow the conversation at Twitter at We Promise Nothing, drop the G. And you can give us a big old like on Facebook, because we like when you do that. And you could like, subscribe, and share this with your friends. Leave a comment below, especially if you disagree that was anything said today. Trailing off into no
Or if you disagree with everything that was said today.
All right, this is Jpar floating away.
Clayton, man, I love Marvel movies.
Yeah, me too.
Myles saying, I think Fox had the best superhero movie this year.
Da Boo's still going bye-bye.
And if you disagree with anything that you heard today on the show, you can leave a comment below. But as always, we
promise nothing.
Good night.
I love Gal Gadot.
Me too. She was the best part of this movie. Did I say that? I hope I did.